Busy week this has been. What a full week. What a great week. As we march on as Fiscus, what a phenomenal community that we have as everybody's coming in now, kind of filling up the room here. Definitely thrilled and excited for some of the things that we will talk about that we've started to deliver on. We appreciate everyone's patience as we push forward with security in mind, with vigilance and diligence in mind. We are truly doing something that no other protocol has done or tried to do, whether off-chain or on-chain. We're doing some great things. So with that being said, I would like to turn it over to Kevin.
Perfect. Thanks, Phil. Welcome, everyone. Another Fiscus Friday here. Like Phil said, it was definitely a busy week, definitely an interesting week. First and foremost, before I start here, I'd actually like to address the whitelist delay. That's obviously the first thing on everyone's mind, so I'd like to address that. I'd like to start off by taking personal responsibility for the lack of communication earlier in the week. As delays were happening on the project, our team was pushing really hard, working crazy long-hour days to get things done behind the scenes, and this wasn't being communicated with you guys, and I take personal responsibility for that. So moving forward, what I can do is improve the communication to the community and be better that way, because that's what you guys deserve. So I wanted to kind of explain things from our perspective and what happened. So Friday, as I sat here last week and explained to you guys and excitedly announced a launch date for the whitelist, we had the utmost confidence between us and our team that we would be able to get that done on Monday. The UI was running great. The contracts were fine. It was late into testing when on Friday night or early into Saturday, where we had an unexpected error. And this error had to be identified. We had to try a multitude of different efforts to identify and overcome this bug. So our team from the weekend has been working 12 to 15-hour days. Shout out to our dev team working crazy hours to get this thing done, and that's what they've done. So as of last night, early hours this morning, they've squashed the bug. They've identified it. They've overcome the problem. And where we are now at this moment is our team is working on the last of the UX improvements from the admins. But I don't want to announce any date yet based on the expectations of the community. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have a full functioning system, double check that, and then release it to the community. So look for Discord announcements, look on the Twitter. We'll definitely announce it there. Just wanted to say that sometimes these type of delays do happen in projects. It's rare, but it does happen. Appreciate everyone in the community, their patience with this, and I appreciate the admins for being so supportive in such a busy and crazy week. We're not sure at this moment what this delay is going to do for our timeline. We have to regroup after the launch, and we will announce that in the Discord. In terms of a marketing side, the website has been finalized. We're just working with the admins to add a little bit more content that they would like to see in there and a few minor improvements. So when that's ready, we'll definitely release that to the community. The admins have seen it. They've had their input. They've very valuable input. They've been great members of the community. We're lucky to have them. In terms of our Twitter activity, we've already gained 400 followers this month. Our goal is to reach over 10,000 followers by the end of the month. You guys can help us with this goal by following us, retweeting, sharing, and spreading the word around the community. In terms of our subreddit, we've started to put on some content there for the admins. You guys can join it. We are also generating our first batch of paid ads on different social media sites. And what those ads are going to redirect is to the Discord group and to the website once that's completed. We're going to continue to refine our brand style guide with the assets later be shared on with the community. And then lastly, with our operations, our legal experts requested more information about Fiscus DAO. So Phil is filling that out as we speak, and he's going to get that back to me. We can submit it to them for them to start drafting up a compliance framework for our organization. And this is just for additional security in case compliance comes Additionally, the audit committee will be closing off applications next Friday. So we have had a few solid applications in there. Contact the admins if you've had the experience working in audit or just in code in general. We're looking for people who are trusted members of the community and have that experience. So with that, I'll pass it back to Phil.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much for the updates and the specificity there. From an off-chain perspective, I think that's probably some of the most exciting elements that are happening right now as far as project reveals. You guys learning about these projects. Obviously, we have Princess with us here today, and she'll be with us bi-weekly as well moving forward as we get into deep dives on projects. She'll be able to introduce various principles as she's on also, and answer specific questions as well from the community. And we'll start by doing some of those even today. From the Fiscus Funds perspective, there's so much there that we could get into, and anyone that's here now that hasn't had an opportunity maybe to get some of the rapid AMA recaps from earlier in the week, from some kind of impromptu sessions, please go back and feel free to read those. A lot has done a phenomenal job of making sure to keep track of those. Our admins, our mods are, as you guys know, just truly phenomenal at making sure that all of the information is out there for everyone, because there's a lot. As those that are newer to the project, this is not your average everyday project that's just on chain and is just looking to launch and hoping for the best. It's really the exact opposite of that. It's very methodical. Several elements of this are multiple years in the making. When we think about off chain, for most here, I know that we're starting to get more and more project finance professionals and asset managers and REIT managers in the Discord, and that's awesome. And we welcome you, just as we welcome all of our community members. But from that perspective, one thing to keep in mind about on-chain is that it is vastly different. There's some elements there that the Princess will talk about as well, but it's vastly different, even from a timing perspective. A lot of things that and on chain, everyone's on Discord, everyone's on Telegram, everyone's on Twitter. But in off chain, a lot of times we're dealing with principles that are older, and also some are not completely technologically versed. And so, that means phone calls, that means face to face, that means some slower methods of communication. And so we do appreciate everyone's patience there. By us doing something that's different, again, we are blending, and in that blending, we are continuing to refine the process of efficiency and of communication. What we do is so sound. You guys are seeing that by the types of projects that are utilizing Fiscus and the financial structure. And moving forward, oh my goodness, I'll save the good stuff for Princess. I'd like to bring in Doni for some quick housekeeping and thoughts. I know there was a question about team excitement, and so we thought who best to answer that than our Doni.
Hello, guys. Great to be in the community. I did want to first talk a little bit about the NFTs. I don't know if the community at large has seen my Doni drop, but I just want to clarify what what the NFT process is. We are recommending, and we're actually telling you, don't buy any secondary market NFTs, please. Those are not registered. They're not minted. They're effectively paperweights. They don't have any token value, token allocation associated with them. We are 99% complete with that process, and they don't come with utility. What is going to happen is once the NFTs are exchanged to Avalanche compatible NFTs, and they'll be the aesthetics will be different as well. Then at that time, the secondary market will be essentially open, and we'll be able to track all the minted NFTs and associate the utility with them. So if you need any clarification, certainly DM me. Look for the Donny drop as far as NFTs, but we're certainly not recommending buying any on the secondary market. I was discussing with Phil earlier this morning, and I had seen in the chat where there was a question about whether the core team was excited about Fiscus. I really wish I could explain in words how excited we are, because everything is trying to come together. And as you guys know, we're just it's a juggling act right now with off-chain, on-chain dev, all those components. But we talk privately amongst our team members, really, that you guys hadn't seen anything yet. I mean, because once this all comes together, and it's very close to doing so, we won't be able to contain our excitement. It's hard to do it now. We stay busy with our tasks at hand, and certainly trying to overcome all the obstacles that we're doing. But believe me, guys, I promise you, this is going to be exciting, and it's going to be something that we'll look back on and really be proud of. So yeah, that's that question kind of just hit me when I read it through the general chat or the AMA. I think it was an AMA channel. That yes, I mean, I was going to chime in then, but certainly this is a better forum to do that. So yeah, so there's some palpable excitement amongst our team members, and that motivates us to get the job done at hand. And we appreciate you guys' patience, and obviously we want to make sure that you guys are informed on everything. But yes, there's definitely an excitement. So.
Well said, Donny. And with that, let's go to Princess, who is here with us. She's going to speak on, obviously, introduce herself to those that don't know. She'll talk about off-chain culture, and then there's several questions from the community that were posed. And so after she says a few words, and I'll ask those questions to her, and we'll get her responses on those.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all for your time today. Super excited to be interacting with you in this live format. Again, my name is Princess Barai, and I represent Wawea Management and Consulting. I am a 20% partner in really acquiring the different projects that are off-chain. I have very strong partnerships with Minazaga, which is our other consulting firm that is also supporting the mechanisms that will allow us to achieve a lot of the goals that have been described, discussed, and really deliberated on. Super excited to answer these questions because every day I'm on the phone nearly 24/7 to really get these projects into a good place, not only for the involvement of the participants in our community, but really for the off-chain aspect, really seeing some amazing solutions. I feel like I have sights into the future because of all the projects I get to review. So happy to answer these questions and get right into some of these details so that you all can understand exactly the level of excitement and the level of movement we're seeing in markets because of these types of incredible work that we're doing on the financing and structuring side of the process.
Wonderful.
So,
would you just like me to go ahead and ask the questions now?
Yes, that would be great.
Phenomenal. Let's start with the first one here. The question is, what are project owners saying about our set-aside finance structures as compared with other sources of initial funds? Can you share what are some of the benefits they get going with Fiscus as opposed to other means?
Absolutely. Project owners are absolutely excited because once they understand exactly how the mechanisms work and the mechanics functions, They see exactly where their access is and how they can achieve their goals. We have a marriage made in heaven with Mina Zaga. Our underwriting is straightforward and direct. By having approvals from Mina Zaga prior to presenting to the actual Fiscus Funds, we know that the 20% set-aside principal will be repaid in a timely manner. We know that Mina Zaga also helps to de-risk the capital upon acquisition on their end, which gives even more confidence that the principal payback to Fiscus Funds is strong and thorough. The biggest concerns that I see out of the project partners is truly a culture difference. They are very, very sensitive to confidentiality matters. Because we work in the private market, the details of these projects are hypersensitive. NDA protocols have to be observed in order to maintain that trust while we secure and distribute the financing. This is the biggest worry amongst a lot of my project managers and owners, as this is what keeps their ideas competitive and relevant in their market spaces. They already contend with data breaches and other cyber-oriented attacks against their patents, their plans, proprietary information, and other trade secrets. So it's my job really to explain not only the functions and features of how their projects help in the on-chain experience, but also off-chain culture is very relational. So they have a lot of time and energy to really make sure that we have a trusting relationship. And it's project by project. Some project owners are very well adept in understanding how structured finance works, and others are not. So our approach is really based on trust building, transparency, which makes us very attractive to achieving our client goals in a short timeline as we pay attention to the project needs, the liquidity needs that are often present right at the start of the conversation, size of capital, making sure that we can actually deliver on all capitalization that's required. And we consult on the mechanics of it, because a lot of these project folks are great with their technologies, great at their solutions, but when it comes to financing, that's why we're there. We help to explain that. We respect their need around confidentiality, as a lot of our private family offices that we use outside of this process here on chain and really requires us to maintain that level of confidentiality. So it's a definite culture difference, but once they understand the mechanisms, they really kind of come around and understand that, hey, we're some of the strongest partners in the global industry. As regards to the benefits, the benefits are just overwhelming to them. Some of the benefits are really as a result of the private lending platform and structure that we've created. As mentioned earlier, our underwriting is really twofold. We underwrite we do underwriting that's completed by Mina Zaga, and then we do another set of underwriting completed by Waweya. And we have overlapping requirements, so we're really looking at the same data from multiple perspectives. Our interest rates, our fees, and our overall cost of capital, extremely competitive against the traditional commercial banking loan facilities out there. Other private lending facilities just don't have the capacity and the access to the levels of capital we do. We build intentional and long-term relationships with the project owners to be able to advise them on their long-term growth, their scaling strategies, and long-term financing needs. So typically what we see is that companies come back to us for subsequent capital or planning needs to be achieved. I will mention also that Waweya and Mina Zaga have a unified goal of working with indigenous groups, not by not subjecting waivers of sovereignty, which is often experienced in the commercial world. All over the world, we attract ESG positive impact companies by offering benchmarking and baselining of data for the green technologies that they're trying to deploy. This is all separate and aside from the actual deployment of capital. These two targets allow us to reach around the globe to source the best and most relevant projects, with many other projects outside of our focus sharing that they are attracted to our terms and process and structure.
Well said. Well said. And I just want to make sure we didn't lose you there.
Yep. No, didn't lose me.
Okay. Phenomenal. Well said. And I'd love to highlight and just add on to that for those that are maybe having a little bit of trouble even in envisioning the big picture, envisioning Fiscus and seeing, where we fit in. We are commoditizing project finance by us having standardized, smart contract based, uniform procedures and rates and terms. It allows for the type of financial flexibility that truly doesn't exist. It doesn't exist this way off chain. The red tape, the issues that you get into, the requirements that are needed, the subjectivity that's there is something that bonded, Princess and I from the standpoint of how do we do better, and how do we do better for those that have great projects, no matter what they look like, no matter where they're from. We're looking for projects that are viable, for principals that are experienced, but outside of that, it should be as crypto is, where it is simply based upon you coming to the table. You have X, I have Y, and we're a match based upon that. And so we're pushing that agenda. The next question there, again, this next question for Princess was, I've noticed some REIT managers and bridge loan business people have joined our Discord. To me, that shows the word is getting out about us. What plans do you see us taking in the future to further expand adoption of Fiscus DAO off-chain?
I love this question because I've been tracking it over the last couple of weeks myself. We are in need to service the liquidity requirements for these project owners. And so as they wait for financing to get deployed for full capitalization, this is the primary question that I receive. I see us expanding on developing on short-term loan or bridge to the 20% set-aside process. I see us really diversifying the types of companies that come forward. I've been seeing diverse types of asset managers funding their funds with capital and seeking conversations with us to fund anywhere from 50 to 80% of their funds with the kind of capital opportunities we possess. However, I've also had many conversations with a lot of these managers, and as to be expected, many just are not awakened to our approach and model. It's new, it challenges their thinking, and therefore it helps them to open up their possibilities. So I do see some of these asset managers coming around, and once they really try to shop the work that we've done, inevitably they end up coming back to the table as they're just not anything like what we have put together as far as structure, process, and protocols.
Well said. The next question here also is, what are some of the unanticipated hurdles that you've encountered in structuring and securing the initial projects for Fiscus? What have you learned, and how will the team apply these lessons to scale and secure the remaining project opportunities?
This is also another great question. Being somebody who really primarily works in the private lending off-chain experience, part of the learning is really on my end, understanding the on-chain motivations, structures, governance, participants, and culture. We have learned so much regarding how banks also service our monetization needs. As many of you probably noticed, banks are really getting challenged, not just by the on-chain experiences out there, but also off-chain. There's a lot more demand for better solutions and quicker returns. We have learned a great deal about working closely with U.S. tribes and their inherent protocols and readiness to participate. We have learned even more that there's a significant gap, data gap between those companies that say that they're sustainable, maybe they even say that they're ESG positive or net carbon neutral, as there's no authority yet on these impending mandates. So all these moments have solutions, but they take a lot of time to address, and especially in the global marketplace, it's really subject to the regional understanding of what's of participation. As far as scaling, Wawea is in strong partnership with Minazaga, has really helped us to achieve higher capital projects, higher revenue achievement, and quicker turnarounds on ability to pay back the principal. I have a significant pipeline of opportunities. I see about 2 to 3 dozen per week across all of our networks, And right now, I'm working on another 50 plus projects that have already been approved by Minazaga. At this level of financing, we are turning away more than we can technically fund, and it's really strictly due not just to the funding aspect, because really we're seeing our great ability there. It's really due to project readiness. We want these projects to be ready for participant involvement, and some of them just aren't. So we have to spend that time to really cure and curate the minds that are behind those projects. I will say this, and for those of you involved in finance and trade, you'll understand where I'm coming from. It's all in the mindset. Scaling businesses is not an easy on the first go. That's why we seek our project owners to have achieved previous business ventures as a marker of openness to new and creative ways of solving their problems. There must be a learning posture towards structured project financing, as they've never encountered how we do this model, how we go from off-chain to on-chain, how they understand 20% to 80% financing. And if they're green, we need to see the data. And we need to be able to build in the data benchmarking if they don't have that. One of the pieces that I always bring to the table is don't tell me that you're sustainable, don't tell me you're green. Prove it to me. Show me the data. Show me where you're seeing that measurement of success. If they can't, I have strong partnerships in my network to help them achieve that. And what we're noticing is even further development of their valuation achievements on the back ends of these deals, with upwards of 20 to 25% increase in possible evaluation once mandates end up setting in. So are we in a posture of learning? Absolutely. And is there a lot of opportunity? Absolutely. But we just all have to remember it's all we're learning through this process in a global way together. And so we're sharing information, receiving more information, and really just driving home the point that we really are a creative solution. We're in the green space, and we're really looking to make a world of positive impact.
Very well said. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here with us. And we look forward to you being here next week as well, along with all of us. Absolutely. To hammer some of those, thank you so much. Sorry to cut you off. To hammer some of those other questions here quickly, and then after we do these questions, we are going to open it up. I know that's something that we started there, right? We cut our teeth on that, as the saying goes. And so after we go over these questions, we'll open it up to 3 or 4 live questions also. But in the prepared questions, we want to definitely cover those first. We appreciate everyone for taking the time to think about Fiscus in this way. Again, the level of involvement that we have amongst our community is incredible. From the standpoint of learning, this is not just an ape-in project. I mean, individuals will do that, of course, and that's kind of planned in the model to a certain degree. But those that have really taken an active role, those that have said, you know what, I see the benefit of Fiscus in a large way. Thank you for that. Thank you for your participation and for being here today and every week. So that first question was about NFT royalties, paid monthly, quarterly, or annually. Paid quarterly. Second question, NFT rewards paid in stable or in FIS. Paid in stables. Long term, I was actually talking with with admins earlier. Long term, to a degree, we view that we really want to get us somewhat away from USDC, not to have too much exposure to anything, right? The point of Fiscus is to be in a humble way above it, right? We want to be above the whims of the market. We want to be above whether it's bull or bear market, right? We're able to do that because of the financial structure. The financing projects in all economic cycles were there. By having stables inside of the treasury, we're there, right? We're not going to be dependent upon, a 20 or 30% drop in ETH or in some other protocol. And so stables are obviously a must. And at the same time, we want our stables to also be diversified, if you will, so that we aren't, again, too exposed to one stable. Next question there, how accurate is the allot calculator that it posted a few weeks ago? And again, thank you for the work on that. We'll look into it again, just to see if anything had changed, or just to look at it thoroughly again. But again, we appreciate what he's done on that. I had seen a few calculations that individuals had did earlier. They looked accurate, based upon the information that was input. It's a calculator, so it's all about how things get input, right? Next question was estimated timeline. Understand, no hard target dates, but like to know days, weeks, months, years, something vaguely specific, which I think that term is one of the greatest terms known to man, right? Vaguely specific. I would say forks over knives, days over weeks. I think that would sum it up from the perspective of what we're seeing. Again, getting back to that excitement level, obviously Donnie had already touched on that. Myself, if we're measuring 1 to 10, I would say I'm an 8. And after Whitelist, I'm an 8.5. After LBP, I'm a 9. And between LBP and launch, probably won't sleep. Just from the standpoint of the gravitas of what we're accomplishing. And, there are so many intangibles that we can't even enumerate, because they are just as vast as the sea. The ability to fund projects in places where they have not been able to be funded before. The ability to fund projects that have social components that literally will save lives. What better work is there, right? What better goal is there, right? That is the epitome. And to be able to do that, and to have an exponentially appreciating token in all of our wallets at the same time, come on. So I'm very excited. Maybe I'm a 9 now, actually, as we sit here and talk about it. Next question: have all the projects in the North worksheet agreed to royalty minimums acceptable of the 7% of projects gross? Those are acceptable. Again, that stems from Fiscus Funds. That the ability of Fiscus Funds to be that buffer gives some amazing customization for the projects. That's something that honestly we could talk about for hours, and we will talk about for hours. We have 2 more of these of the Fiscus Funds project overviews that will be released here shortly. We just ran up against this AMA, so thank everyone for their patience on those. South has been posted, and again, to highlight that, it goes back to exactly what Princess was referring to. We're up against this culture crash, and it's funny because it's literally, it feels like it's at times, if you were to whittle it down, it's Princess, and then there's me, and I'm saying, listen, I need all this information so that the DAO can have it. And she's saying, you can't have this. You can't have this. There's this NDA in place here and here and here. And I'm saying, well, I need at least this. And so again, we're pushing that agenda. We're pushing their comfort, because again, that is what on-chain is about. Those levels of transparency, it's not lost on us. The comments that are made in the Discord about, we want more transparency. We promise more transparency. Where is it at? We are bringing it, but it is a process at the same time. And so we just thank everyone for being involved on the process, right? And we're not going to say a process like, I know sometimes that has a negative connotation. We're not talking about like necessarily the Sixers, right? No offense to any Philly fans, but this is a process that is active, because what happens is FOMO is real, right? FOMO is not just on chain. FOMO is also off chain. When a project developer, receives terms from us and they didn't from someone else, when they receive terms and one of their a similar associate of theirs that may be in the same industry. Let's talk about like oil and gas or renewable energy. Word spreads, and that word is already spread. The conversations that Princess and I are having tomorrow with several others, even two from the community. We're talking about 50 projects. That stems from what we have created. And we are just getting started. We truly can't say that enough. Next question there. We'll be informed on the doc vaults, which projects have current revenue, thereby making their royalty estimates achievable sooner rather than later. It's a great question. As compared to projects that are just launching that won't have revenue for a while. Absolutely. A lot of projects are newer. Some of them by nature, depending on industry, have a faster path to profitability, if you will, or a path to revenue. Those are ones that I honestly tend to gravitate towards, and I know Donnie tends to gravitate towards those. Just because from a risk perspective, from our perspective, and looking at NFT royalties, they're phenomenal for that, right? If a group such as there's one of the groups that's inside of Fiscus East that's buying just a portfolio of commercial real estate. Well, it's cash flowing already. It's existing already. And so the path to royalties on that is faster than, let's say, the one of the renewable projects inside of South, where it's going to be a year and a half. Now, at the same time, the benefit that everyone has is the multiplicity of projects. And I would just say, let's focus on that. Focus on the fact that, yes, some of the projects are going to be 2 years before that royalty component kicks in, but the voting is right at closing. The governance is right at closing. And so there is a lot there for NFT holders, and that's by design. There was a comment which I really appreciated that was talking about the voting rewards and how basing them on a percentage instead of having them a percentage versus in relation to the size of the project versus just right now where it's fixed. That was definitely a thought. That was actually a thought. But again, at the same time, when you look at what we're doing on the other side, right? Don't just look at the on-chain element and our benefit, but look at the other side. Having 3 or 4 various fees that are based on a percentage at times gets a little confusing. We want to get away from what a lot of the off-chain projects are used to, which is, a multiplicity of fees where it's not as understandable. We're already coming with something that is new for them. And so we want to keep that somewhat simple. And so that was part of the basis of making the voting rewards fixed versus floating on a percentage. But great thought there. Again, keep thinking about Fiscus. We love these thoughts and we love the contributions. Next question. About the numbers released on North, they're big numbers. A way to verify these numbers from other sources? Absolutely. Signed agreements is the end all be all. And even more important than that, and this is the point I think must be made, and I'm starting to see some of these thoughts even in the community. But the benefit of Fiscus Funds is that Fiscus Funds is the borrower. Fiscus Funds stands as a buffer between the Treasury and the projects. And because of that, the control that is in Fiscus Funds is great from the standpoint of receiving. So there's not a question of, a project receiving funding and the Treasury not getting the ROI. That's not there. That was taken out with the initial structure. The only risk, if we want to look at it from a risk perspective, would be a project that has the royalty component, and that project not paying that royalty component as agreed, which obviously we have legal standing there. The Fiscus Funds have legal standing, which is why they're these phenomenal juggernaut entities to be able to 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 fight for what's ours. But again, because we don't, from a capital perspective, there's not a principal risk there. We view that as a risk, yes, but that's more of an opportunity risk. Will that happen in the history of Fiscus? Potentially. Are there some things that we could do to mitigate that? Absolutely. And that's my word right there. Absolutely. And we're already dealing with a few mechanisms in order to do that. Which in the easiest way of thinking about it, it would be holding a certain amount of funds from financing that would cover the projected revenue component. It's that simple. That's the benefit of private finance. The ability to craft solutions, when you blend that with the on-chain ability to craft solutions, it's amazing, which is why this is the perfect time and this is the perfect place. Next question here. Do we feel we have enough in the treasury right at the outset to service all these projects? What's great about these projects? What's great about Princess and the bespoke nature of everything that we're doing, especially with these projects, is we will have them in batches. In the rapid fire AMA a few nights ago, BSID 24, phenomenal in the community, phenomenal questions, bringing out questions that were things that, again, the community needs to know, things that, in the minutia of structure that we don't talk about, but from an understanding perspective, has to be there. We want everyone to know. And one element of that is that we will have projects in cycles. And so based on the size of the project, and a lot of these projects can also be broken down and will be broken down, some of the larger ones. And so because of that, because of how the mechanics of the treasury works, as the treasury grows, and you feel free to go back and look at that rapid fire AMA, identifying the cycles, just going through 4 cycles, you can see the increase in the treasury. And so based on that, we'll be able to fund all of the projects that are there, no matter where we started. That was something that it feels like months ago, but it was only weeks ago on an AMA that we talked about that. And we talked about that it doesn't matter where we start. It's just about starting. Because of the ROI, we can grow into any size of a project. And then on the opposite side, because the projects can also be broken down in their funding and in their reception of funding. A $1 billion project doesn't need $1 billion necessarily the first 3 or 4 months. And so because of that, being able to scale into a project gives us the advantages of, one, maximizing the utilization of the treasury, right, which is our primary goal. We do that, the treasury continues to grow without anyone in the crypto world coming and bonding or minting. It's without that, right? That's an element that's on top of. That gives us abilities that are even beyond what we can imagine. That's why we're here on chain, because it's that duality that really will allow us to even scale in a way that we cannot measure. And so again, we are capable and we are able. And that covers that second question too about if we couldn't, is there a system in place? Next question, how much is the team planning on raising or hoping to raise during the LBP phase to inject into the treasury to help all of that? Easiest answer there is as much as possible. There are a few projects. There are 2 community-based VC firms that want, or VC funds that want access to the LBP. Like we mentioned last week, we want to bring those to the community. We want everyone to know about those so that you know who's there. The last thing that we ever want is a well class, a super dominant well class. And so as long as the provisions are there to prevent that, then obviously we're happy and ready to move forward. The other element to that obviously is third party burn. That gives us the ability to diminish the impact of certain actors or certain groups that would try to maybe manipulate the price of Fisc. There was a question earlier in the week about bots and the thought on that. We are looking into that, the impact that potentially could have, some ways to really fight against that. We view the demand element that will definitely help in that, but we also want to make sure that those of you that have not participated in the NFT phase, in the whitelist, that one, you can participate in the LBP, but then separately, even from that, those that are just waiting for launch, right? If that's your MO and you're a launch type person, we still want there to be fairness at launch. And so we're looking into all of those areas, and we'll make those known. Anybody has some good solutions on those, bring them forth. Feel free. Next question here. That's funny. There must be something up the team's sleeve that hasn't been disclosed in a good way about potentially these off-chain projects firms that are planning to purchase during the LBP phase. And can we elaborate on that? Just that I had said, once that's solidified, then we'll let everyone know. And we'll let you know the total fiat amounts that they're going to be buying as well. And so that you do know that. And that is in the negotiations, right? We are a team of negotiators. Honestly, it's what we do day in and day out. From our perspective, in lieu of giving venture capitalists kind of sweetheart deals on Fisc or on PFisc, it's about what pushes forth the agenda. And so making them commit to a certain amount of fiat per Fisc, no matter the price, has always been a staple. That's a staple of third-party burn, and that's a staple of those that would want to participate that haven't yet. Another question here. External link sites for the other 4 projects outside of Neon that we can look at. I believe there's 2 that will be uploaded as well, and they'll be in the document vault. Several of these projects, and this again highlights what Princess was saying before, is they're very private. Again, that's something I would say in my experience with the projects that we have to date, that really 2/3 are very private. The other third has a feeling of disenfranchisement with the status quo. They know they need to do something different. They're willing to do something different. They want to do something different to finance their projects. And so based on that, they're just like, here's everything, do with it as you please. And I'm telling them, listen, like 8,000 people are going to be seeing this, and there's no turning back. You're going to get a deep dive. They're going to know who you are. They're going to know everything about you. And so if there's anything there, they're going to find it. And if it's something that the community doesn't like, we're not going to fund the project. And that's something that doesn't happen in traditional finance, right? You're not walking into a bank and they're telling you, this is going to be looked at by 8,000 people. You don't know who it's going to be looked at. Some team or some committee, they'll say underwriting, and they'll act like it might be in the back, and it really is a regional office. You have no idea. A lot different with crypto, and that's the beauty of crypto, quite honestly. And so again, it's pushing that agenda, and obviously we've had success in doing that, or else we wouldn't have any projects. Next question here was talking about do the royalty estimates on North Worksheet already have the 5% taken out that is going to the Treasury, or else we subtract that? That's not taken out. That's there, so everybody knows gross amounts. I think that's something that we will always do, so that everyone knows what's on the table, and then from there, where it goes. That's a must. As we get further into the DAO and in the sponsorship of projects and voting on projects and on DAO budgets in the future and oversight and all those elements, we want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on, because as we grow, even at this initial level at launch, we're significant in size, we're significant in ability and in stature. So I think that's very important. Last question here. Also, so I know that with the timing of these initial project overviews being released, everybody really hasn't had enough time to be able to dive into these. So I'm going to have a series over this weekend of what I refer to as stealth AMAs, but we'll announce one or two of these, and it will be in voice just like this. And so we'll open up the Fiscus forum, or we may use one of the other voice channels, and we'll be able to dive in and we'll be able to talk about these things. So I want to make sure that everybody has all their questions addressed. We're going to go ahead and post the multi-sig, those specific whose wallet it is, what their role is, and if make sure everybody knows who they are and what they're about and what their responsibility is, so everybody has a good understanding of that. And so we can talk about that also this weekend. And don't really have a name for this. I just like to call them maybe stealth AMAs. This is and what we do is drawing not only all of you but so many outside of crypto. I think there for a while some individuals were thinking, from the marketing perspective of, why focus maybe on Reddit when so much of crypto is in Twitter. And the brilliant response from Kevin and Kyle, is based on the fact that we are bigger than just crypto in what we're doing. We have the ability to bring classes of investors and classes of project developers and classes of entrepreneurs that don't necessarily know about crypto. We can be their first entree into crypto. And that's exciting. And that puts us in a very unique position. And because of that, when we talk about the making sure the security of the UI is there, when we talk about the security of launch and of LBP, these are the reasons why. We know that we only get one shot to be the first in this, and we want it to be phenomenal. We see these other projects that are going down the toilet. We see the other protocols that have issues or continual issues. And so, again, when it comes to security, we always and will put that first. And that's something from a steward perspective, from a custodial perspective, that so many of the team have in their background that is just a must. I would also like to say that in the fulfillment of individuals really coming to Fiscus and being a part of that, we have had our entire admin team has privately doxed, which is just incredible. That shows again that Fiscus has the ability to really bring individuals that have unique skills, and it's a place where they can call their crypto home, right? That's what Fiscus can be. We want it to be a legacy token that's passed down. As far as price goes, do we want it above Bitcoin? Absolutely. And that's me saying it. That's in the design. That's in third-party burn. But Bitcoin with utility. And we're excited to push that goal. If we were to fall short of that goal, I don't think anybody would be upset. If we had a token price around yearns, I don't think anyone would be mad. If we had a 7,000 or 8,000 token price, I don't think anyone would be mad at that either. We have work to do to get there. We don't say that lightly. We know the hurdles and obstacles that are, and we are well able to battle through those, and we will, because that's truly who we are. And so with that, I want to go ahead and open it up real quickly to maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then I'll turn it back over to Kevin for closing. Okay. And I see a question here from Showtime, and we'll go ahead with him, and then whoever else wants to ask a question, feel free.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Long time no talk, and I've been kind of hopping in and out of the project. Being a little bit busy, I'm not like up to date on all the details, but I'll just say I'm just really proud of where you guys have come over the last couple of months. I know it was a difficult and probably painful journey, and I just think that I can sense your guys' energy and your excitement and your passion. I know excitement was like one of the questions, but I just want to say you guys have come a long way, and really excited for what is to come. I wanted to bring up just a real quick question because most of them were already answered. But with the announcement today, I was looking at the projects. If you could go over, and it doesn't have to be right now, but at some point, all those line items for each project and how that impacts Fiscus, I think that would be helpful for people that when they're looking at those numbers, they know what it means in terms of the actual direct impact. But my specific question was a couple of the projects, like the top two, for example, I see a line for the third party burn, one's $7.5 million, another one's $2.5 million. Are those going to be on day one of when those projects launch, or is that over like a period of time?
Phenomenal question, as always. So one of those projects is actually set to close pre-launch. It was one that we've designed financial structure for previously, that we've set up a outside bridge loan for, and so it does have the ability to close pre-launch. The bulk of projects will be after launch, and so again, some of them will be 2 to 3 weeks after launch. Some of the larger ones, depending on how they're broken down, will be at day 30, will be at day 60, and then continuing on based upon each cycle of that treasury usage. There was, just to follow up on your question, there was someone had asked about in the community about, is that an amount of fiat or is that amount of Fisc? It's the amount of fiat, because obviously we can't control the price of Fisc per se. And so that is the amount that will be purchased via a randomization, so that it's not just all at once, so that it's not, within even the first day itself, but those purchases will be made with one of those being pre-launch. So day of launch, that impact would be known, and then the others would be weeks after that.
Great. And just one last quick question. I know you guys have a lot of different smart contracts. Maybe not a lot, but you definitely have more than one. I know that you're going to be utilizing. Is there ever a goal, or is the goal to eventually have a CertiK audit on any of those done?
Yes, on all of them. Again, the kind of internal audits and having an outside group that's doing an assessment, is an element that we absolutely want done, at these stages, just double protection and security for everyone. But yes, third party big boy audits are absolutely a must, and there's no wavering on that. So yes.
Thanks, Phil, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you as well. Have a great afternoon. All right, we'll open it up there. Any other questions? I have no requests currently that I'm seeing here. I know we've asked quite a few. So, okay, I do got one right here. Let's do this, and then I'll turn it back over to Kevin. We have Tyler Durden.
Hello, Phil. Can you hear me?
Nice and clear. Absolutely.
All right, great. I just have a question about the third-party burn, and this may be looking down the line a bit. Say Fiscus does achieve some of the milestones it's going to, and gets to the price appreciation. So as it's getting up there, say some of the early adopters, NFT holders, want to start cashing out now, and want to do so obviously without affecting the the price. Has there been any thoughts of utilizing the third party burn as partial these projects buying from the market, and then also having an ability to do over the counter sales with large holders, so that that it will also, increase the price and then also prevent, price drops as well from large sales.
Yes, and phenomenal question, and thank you for thinking about Fisk in that way. Yes, that was actually even something that we even had got into a little bit in one of the rapid fire AMAs, and the thought on OTC is a definite. The benefits there are I think ideal, especially for NFT holders, and again, saying NFT holder from a token allocation standpoint, whitelisters, for right now, and in the example given in the rapid fire AMA, we talked about the difference between having 1,000 or 500 Bitcoin in 2013, right? You wouldn't be considered a whale by any necessarily stretch of the imagination, but now you would be. And so we view that. Whereas day one, from an OTC perspective, it may be 100,000 tokens, 200,000 tokens that's deemed as sizable in Fisk. But as the price appreciates, that could truly be 50 tokens. And so the two mechanisms, that we want to employ is one, the OTC, and two, having a lending pool on Fisk, so that those that have a sizable amount of Fisk, that don't want to sell it because they're in for the long term, but they have some life event. They know there's continual appreciation in Fisk, but they want, to be able to do something for their family or for themselves or invest in another protocol. Having a lending aspect, a lending pool set up, we feel like will help in that situation. So yes to both of those. And thank you for those thoughts too.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to Kevin.
Wow, what a great Fiscus Friday AMA session this has been. I was looking around the community chat on the Discord there, and everyone was super excited to have Princess on today and to have Donnie come up and speak on the NFTs, and then always Phil, such a great speaker and great at answering those questions. So thank you all for attending. Keep an eye out on the Discord. Keep an eye out on the Twitter for announcements, and have a wonderful weekend. Fiscus out.